Monday, June 17th. Wake up, wake up. It is good to have you here. Damon Bruce, Larry Krueger, wake up. It was, one last happy Father's Day, right? That we just had Father's Day on Sunday. Great weekend at the Krueger household. Kevin graduating. I had a great Father's Day with the boys. I'm getting bombarded with homemade cards and backward written 4-year-old letters. It's freaking adorable. I'm going soft in my old age. What's up, Krug?
Hey, what's going on, man? What a weekend. What a weekend. It was in SLO, Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo this weekend. Kev graduated on Saturday. They had a tradition, Damon, that all the graduates gather at a bar at like 5 a.m. the day of their graduation. But he didn't graduate till 1:30. And we had parties that night till like 10. So we were up at 5 a.m., 4:45 a.m. in line drinking on Saturday. Luckily, it was only about 80, 85 degrees at graduation, so it wasn't too hot. But yeah, it was a drunk fest, and Kev is officially a Mustang alum.
Very aggressive. I respect it. So congratulations to Kevin and all the graduates. No matter where you're graduating from, welcome to your ultimate freshman year. It's that first year out of college. Now you're really a freshman. Back in line you go. So good luck to everyone. Larry, let's just start with our weekly something's rotten in Denmark between the 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk. I see one of our commenters is saying can't wait. Can we please talk about Brandon Aiyuk today? There's a topic that's getting little to no attention. And here we go again. Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers remain far apart, according to all precincts reporting. Jeremy Fowler, who is all over this story, says the 49ers want Aiyuk long-term in the fold, but so far they have not been willing to show that they are going to meet the market of a wide receiver. Seeing the massive numbers jump on Amon-Ra St. Brown in Detroit, $30 million, Justin Jefferson, well above that. Simply going out and finding another player capable of stacking consecutive 1,000-yard seasons in one of the lowest volume passing offenses in the NFL isn't a simple thing. And letting a young franchise quarterback's top target walk in time to throw a bunch of money at that quarterback puts both the quarterback and the team at risk of cratering. Now, I'll push back on the word cratering, but I'm absolutely picking up what Jeremy Fowler's putting down here, Larry. This isn't how it was supposed to go in a smooth transition into the smoothest offseason Brock Purdy's ever had, and Kyle and the team were set up to have as they try to avenge yet another Super Bowl loss. This Brandon Aiyuk situation is the only bump in the road that they can't stop bumping on.
Well, and it's interesting because every team is taking a different approach. Some teams are like, we'll pay it. Well, we'll bite the bullet and we'll pay it. The wide receiver market and free agency is exploding, but that's it. That's the market that we're in, and these are the players that we have, and so we'll pay it. Other teams have said, we ain't paying that. Green Bay said, we ain't paying Devontae. And, the Titans said, we ain't paying A.J. Brown. And the Dolphins said, we ain't paying Tyreek Hill. And they traded those guys. So, think about it. We have not seen another position. If you say, are there trades in the NFL? Not really. But there's been wide receiver trades. Think about how many wide receiver trades compared to, I don't know, how many offensive tackle trades, or how many free safety trades, or how many running back trades, or how many corner trades. You see so many more trades connected to wide receivers than you do to almost all the other positions combined.
Well, and they're price point trades. It feels, that's the genesis of it all. They're price point trades. Teams just deciding, even a guy like Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill, who are, absolute bottles of top shelf liquor. They are, head and shoulders above the rest level talents, and teams walk away from them at a certain price point. I don't know if anyone had Brandon Aiyuk in that level of talent, and that's why the 49ers don't want to put him in that level of price point. I don't even think if the market were exploding, the 49ers really wanted to have Brandon Aiyuk living in that top 5 paid wide receiver universe, no matter where it topped out. They don't see him like that.
I don't know how they see him. because they kind of are talking out of both sides of their mouth, right? On one hand, they're saying, "Hey, we want this guy long term. We love him. Why wouldn't they love him? He's a wide receiver who can run all the routes, productive as hell, in the prime of his career, blocks downfield with aggression on a team that loves to run the ball. Why wouldn't you love this guy?" But it's all, as you said, I mean, it's a price point deal. Have you noticed that it's not like bad wide receivers get traded. Bad wide receivers get cut.
Right.
You draft the wrong wide receiver, like New England did a few years ago with N'Keal Harry, where they took, I think, N'Keal Harry over AJ Brown and Deebo Samuel. He's cut. They cut him because nobody wants to trade for any wide receiver that's not producing. Carolina's got Terrace Marshall, the former LSU receiver. He's like the one guy out of LSU that hasn't produced in the last couple of years at wide receiver. They're saying they want to trade him. They want like a conditional 7th or a swap of 7ths. So there is no market for trades for wide receivers.
Alberto Soto in the chat just brought up a good point. He says, look at what the Chargers just did with Keenan Allen.
Yeah, he wanted to be there for life. He's like, I want to be a Charger for life. And they're like, no, you
Charger, not looking at a top shelf liquor price point, totally established, a bridge between how the Chargers used to act and Harbaugh's coming in. Harbaugh likes a crafty veteran for sure. And he was a gots to go situation. So things are changing, man.
I mean, I love Brandon Aiyuk, but let's not pretend like we've never seen this before. Joe Montana was a Chief. Jerry Rice was a Raider. Ronnie Lott was a Jet. Roger Craig was a Viking. I mean, the greatest Niners of all time. Charles Haley was a Cowboy. The greatest, most accomplished 49ers of all time, most of them finished elsewhere. So I'm not going to lose my mind. Now, where are we on this thing? Okay, I think we know the floor and the ceiling. Mike Silver of the Chronicle says he thinks the Niners are roughly at 26 million AAV. Okay, that's the floor. That's the floor. With guys getting paid north of 30, I got to think if 26 million is the least that anybody would consider, that's the bottom of the Aiyuk market. The top is obviously Jefferson, and he's at 35 AAV, and he's not Jefferson, right? I mean, I like him. He was one of the best wide receivers in football last year. Is he Justin Jefferson? No, he's not Justin Jefferson. So it's interesting. You say, do the Niners like him? Do they not? The Niners have maintained that they would like Brandon Aiyuk to be a 49er far beyond this year, and that they want to see him as a long-term Niner. But as Fowler points out in this piece, the Niners are like, hey, that wide receiver market that's escalating out of control, that doesn't apply to us. And it does. So we have Aiyuk now in the last year of his rookie deal. He's set to play on the 5th-year option at a little bit over $14 million. And the one thing that I think is really, really clear, now maybe I'm wrong, but this is my read on it, is that even though it looks like Damon, there's 3 options. You pay Aiyuk what he wants. You tell Aiyuk, that's our offer, go take it. And if not, you play on the 5th-year option, or you trade him. I don't really think that's our bottom line. You play on the 5th-year option. I just don't get the feeling that is an option. I really feel like they really only have 2 choices, to either pay him or trade him. I don't really think that they have an option where they could just say, you know what? No, you play on the $14.1 million deal and sit there and shut up and take it. And if we decide next year that we want to pay you, or, we can come to terms next year, we will. I think that's so problematic. Player to organization, player to player. I think there's so many ways that could get out of hand. You paid Bosa, you didn't pay Aiyuk. I don't know. There's just, to me, it doesn't seem like it's a viable option to sit there and say, in the midst of all this negotiation, we're yanking our offer, play on the 5th-year option, and just take it. I don't. Right. That seems too hardball.
If I can quote my former, afternoon drive partner, Ray Ratto, he used to like to come back to the point of timelines matter. When things happen matters. And the 49ers are still within their timeline of this getting done. Right? I mean, they do wait late in the summer to reach extensions and agreements with players. There are many examples of that. So the fact that nothing has been done, I don't think should be just offered up as this is an incredibly negative development. This is actually standard operating procedure for the 49ers. The negative development would be if they don't retain the player that they do intend on retaining. And again, if they planned on not retaining this player, they should have had a better plan in place and probably should have pulled all the levers pre-draft to have some sort of replacement level something on this roster other than just future picks for Brandon Aiyuk, because we all know that the season that the 49ers have in front of them is a monster season. So there's, as weird and awkward and uncomfortable as this all feels over on Team Aiyuk, I think the 49ers are just like, hey, this is what we do. This is what we do. We sort of slow play this element of the negotiation. We let the media wring its hands. We let content creators, sweat through their shows about this thing. But the truth is, if we want this deal done with Brandon Aiyuk, we will get it done, and we'll get it done on our timeline, and it'll all come together. And I hope that does happen, because one of the things that you and I keep coming back to is how infrequently the 49ers throw the ball. So therefore, they don't need to pay any of their wide receivers X, Y, or Z. I sort of look at it the other way, Larry. Like, when you're putting the ball in the air as infrequently as the 49ers do, the value of every pass increases, doesn't decrease. And that's when you need to take a guy like Brandon Aiyuk and say, this team can't find a 1,000-yard receiver. For how many years in a row? You are a back-to-back 1,000-yard receiver in a low-volume 2U offense. A guy like that does need to be appreciated. Both sides have very good grounds of arguments to stand on in an arbitration case. But I'm not rooting for one side to beat the other. I just want both these two to get together and let's watch the 49ers go play some winning football, because they've done a lot of that as built. So it's just it's the headache that won't go away. And the 49ers might not even really be thinking it's the headache that we attach to it, because, again, this is sort of how they do it.
They can pick the timeline, but right. What they can't pick is the money, because it takes two to tango. So, yeah, they can sign him whenever they want. They can sign him the day of camp. They can sign him the first day of the regular season. They can sign him on Thanksgiving Day, for all I care. They can sign him whenever they want.
Late in the year, Larry. That's how we get it done before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, but they can't get it. They can't pick them. They can pick the time frame, but they can't pick the money. The market is the market, and so they can bury their head in the sand and say the market doesn't apply to us, but it does, and every agent will see it that way. And the bottom line is, if they don't want to pay Aiyuk, there's plenty of teams out there that will.
And
but I understand why if they don't want to pay him, I understand why they don't, because it's not quarterback. It's not like, oh man, there's 32 jobs in the NFL, but in reality, there's only about 10 really good quarterbacks, or 12 really good quarterbacks. All right, well, what about the other 22 teams in the NFL? Well, they all have to have quarterbacks too, but there's not enough to go around. This is not that. There are wide receivers everywhere you look, and there'll be another group of wide receivers next year. And you just drafted two pretty good wide receivers this year. Now, I don't know if they're Aiyuk. Maybe they're better. Maybe they're worse. They're probably not as good, but we'll see. To add juice to this, to add even more, we have a latest from Aiyuk's camp. And I'm going to share the screen on this one, because this one is pretty interesting. I'm going to need some deciphering here, because I'm not really of the deciphering.
Are you asking me to speak emoji? Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, okay. So Coach Yak, our good friend, Coach Yak, who's coach from, lives in New Jersey, he's an aggregator. Him and Raj and Brad Graham, they all kind of do the same thing, which they sit at their computer. I'm not trying to minimize it in any way. I'm just trying to describe it. They sit at their computer, they see something breaks, and they put it out there in the ether. And they're all over the IG. They're all over TikTok. They're all over everything that's out there. And usually one of those three guys, if not all three of them, will put out some content when there seemingly is none. So here is Brandon Aiyuk looking at his phone, putting out a TikTok. Here it is. You decipher.
Bro, look in the cam, bro. Flip the cam.
He got me vlogging this shit.
Bro, what? They said they don't want me back. I swear.
Oh my.
Here we go. Take two.
Bro, look in the cam, bro. Flip the cam.
He got me vlogging this shit.
Bro, what? They said they don't want me back.
Who's he talking with? Do we know? Who's that on his phone? Is that his brother?
I don't know who that is. It looked a little bit like Logan Ryan, but I don't think that's Logan Ryan. But there you go. You know, the long and the short of it is he said they don't want me. Now, maybe he's just, you know, the one thing about Brandon is I do think he gets a little bit of a kick out of all the attention. I think he gets a little bit of a kick out of the drama, the back and forth.
By the way, the chat is saying that was Jaden Daniels.
Was that Jaden Daniels? Okay, Jaden Daniels was his college quarterback, and he's obviously with the Commanders now. So, Jaden Daniels, you know, there was some speculation that the Commanders would have interest in Brandon Aiyuk. So he might be there telling Braden Daniels that they don't want me. They being, we assume, the 49ers.
I mean, if he were on the phone there with Bob Myers, there would maybe be a little bit more worried to be worried about. But I don't know. You know, the whole performing for social media is something that athletes do, and athletes that I didn't think would bother being performative like that are starting to perform like that. I mean, like, I never thought Klay Thompson was going to be the I'm unfollowing the Warriors on Instagram guy, but he is. So, you know, that's kind of the world that we're living in. I don't really understand it. To me, it doesn't grease the skids of business in any way. You know, it doesn't. Does the deal get closer or further away from happening with that? I would say neither. So it's effort. You know, why put any effort into something that bears no fruit? I just don't understand it. He should be letting his agent handle this. He should be letting backdoor negotiations happen behind closed doors, because that's where things get done. You put it out on Front Street and everybody just walks by and goes, ugh, ugly. Let me tell you where this might get a little uglier too, Larry, because we all know.
By the way, says he's going to the Steelers, and that is Jaden Daniels on the phone.
Okay.
He's going to the Steelers.
But he's talking to Jaden Daniels about it. Interesting.
Well, I mean, Daniels is his buddy, but you know, there was a fantasy trade put out the other day on Bleacher Report. We talked about it. It was Aiyuk to the Steelers. It was 4 of them, but there was one of them was Aiyuk to the Steelers for their 2025 first round draft choice and the gigantic tight end Darnell Washington. I don't know. I mean, to me, that's not fair value. I mean, but you get a number 1 draft choice.
No, what really screws this up, though, is, you know, because the 49ers have waited, these new price points have come rolling out like waves crashing on a beach, right? It seems like every day you wake up, there's a wide receiver getting north of 28 into $30 million range. And we haven't even gotten to Jamar Chase or CD Lamb yet. If CD Lamb or Jamar Chase gets more money than Justin Jefferson,
that's wrong. I mean, Chase maybe, but Lamb does not deserve it.
It would be wrong, but I'm telling you, we got one ridiculously led Dallas Cowboy team that you can never underestimate to spend too much money on anybody. The only thing that the Bengals got going for them that we don't need to worry about is they're just inherently cheap in, you know, all that they do. So maybe it doesn't affect them. But if either of those guys comes in at 32, 33, yeah, you can forget about Brandon Aiyuk coming in south of 30, right? I mean, if 2 more guys join the $30 million club, Brandon Aiyuk is going to think that is now his birthright. He already does. So when those deals get done, I don't think it brings the Niners closer to getting their deal done. It might make it further apart even.
Nicotina says Ayuk's playing the game. I hate the game, by the way. Robert Prado says Pearsall not signed yet. Whatever. I don't know if does that matter. I mean, Nicotina says we don't know who he was talking about. No, we don't. Dusty Gold says give us Zach Frazier. Didn't they pick Frazier? They did. They did pick Frazier. Okay, so Brandon Aiyuk has a lot of value. I mean, a third string all pro says Aiyuk is getting annoying, but not quite Angel Reese playing the victim card annoying. Yeah, exactly. How ridiculous is that? Clarsard says if Pearsall blows up, BA's a goner. Ian Sharp says, I wonder what Purdy thinks. I think Purdy thinks he'd rather have Aiyuk, but that he can get it done without Aiyuk.
Let me tell you what Purdy thinks. Purdy doesn't think he knows he's smart enough to keep his mouth shut on this.
Oh, he's not. Yeah, he's not injecting himself.
Yeah, way too smart.
Especially with his contract looming.
There's no master to serve. You know, there's no reason to put yourself in front of any information that could rub anybody the wrong way when your money's up next. So yeah, he's going to stay quiet.
Third string all pro says Adam Peters might make a play on him? ? He could. Everybody.
Adam Peters would know the player intimately. He knows him, anyone else and in anybody else's front office, right? Only Mike McDaniel could maybe make the argument that he knows more about that player since it's the position that he was coaching with the Niners. But he's the Dolphins are already paying nearly $60 million for two wide receivers as it is, so they're not going to be interested.
I mean, you say, well, would you move him? I guess I would. I'd move him. I don't want to move him. It's not my first choice to move him, but I would move him. I don't know where are you on if Aiyuk really does, because it's who knows? There's 6 weeks until camp. And there's a lot of negotiating that can happen in 6 weeks. But let's just say the Niners are like, let's just say the reporting on this is accurate just for the sake of the debate. Let's say Silver's right and the Niners are offering 26 AAV. And let's say the market is the market and Aiyuk wants a market rate contract. Well, for what he is and for where the market is, I would say a market rate contract for him is probably $32 million AAV. Now, it's all tied to the guarantees and this and that. But, I mean, if you just said AAV, if the market leader is at 35 and you've got other guys that are lesser than him at 28, then he's got to be between 28 and 32. Simple as that. If you meet in the middle, you're like, okay, we'll pay you 30. But let's just say he wants $32 million AAV, and the Niners really are $6 million under per year. So over the 4-year deal, we're talking about almost $25 million. That's kind of a lot of money to be, to have as far as the difference between your offer and what he's looking for. Then in that situation, I don't let him sit. I don't let him hold out and ruin the year. I just move on. I mean, it's like I make the best trade I can make and get down the road. Now, what would I want from the Steelers? I don't think Darnell Washington moves the needle enough for me. I think if I'm the Niners, I would want to grow the deal. And if it was up to me, I would say, okay, you want Brandon Aiyuk, then I want to play, I want some talent coming back, I'll grow the deal. I'll throw you Brandon Aiyuk. What do you think of this trade? Brandon Aiyuk, Elijah Mitchell, Cam Latu, and Jake Brendel from the Niners to the Steelers. And the Niners take back Najee Harris, Darnell Washington, Nick Herbig, Zach Frazier, and a 2025 second-round pick.
I mean, I don't think Najee Harris fits the way the 49ers run the ball. So no to him. No.
He's a free agent at the end of the year. I like Najee just because I like Najee, and
right.
I know the Niners like Najee.
He's easy to root for, but I just don't think he's the right back for them.
He's a backup on this team. He's a backup to.
And I don't like any element of that trade. That's a no all the way around.
Well, you're getting an offensive you're getting a center in Frazier.
Parts in it. You made it way more complicated than it would be on either side. You had a 10-player trade. You know,
Well,
I
that's
mean,
what I'm
come on.
saying. Okay, so if you want to take out Elijah Mitchell and take out Najee, take out the running backs, then your trade basically is just Brandon Ayuk, Cam Latu, who's a tight end, Jake Brendel, who's a center, just giving them replacement parts. And then you're taking back, you're getting Darnell Washington. So you're giving them Ayuk. And for that, you get Darnell Washington for Latu, you get Zach Frazier for Brendel, and then you get Nick Herbig in a second-round pick. And Nick Herbig's a backup edge rusher for them behind TJ Watt and their other starter. So, I mean, Washington doesn't start. Frazier is a second-round pick that hasn't played. Herbig doesn't start. And you're trading your starting center and your starting wide receiver and Cam Latu, who's a third-round pick 1 year removed.
So who's getting cut? Who's getting cut to fit all these new players that are now on the team? You know what I mean?
You don't have to. You're trading Cam Latu. You're trading Jake Brendel. So Brendel's getting cut for Frazier, and Latu's getting cut for Washington. And you're giving yourself a little insurance in case Robert Beal Jr. and Drake Jackson don't come of age with Herbig, who's has some Bay Area ties. His brother went to Stanford. He went to Wisconsin. And you're getting a pick in next year's draft. I mean, there has to be some pain from the Steeler front. And there has to be some gain from the Niners to trade. I mean, think about this. This is going to trade one of the best wide receivers in football inside your Super Bowl window.
I just don't think
it has to make sense.
I don't think that's happening. I mean, if you're saying, straight up player for player, I'd say Minka Fitzpatrick. Yeah. But the Steelers are not going to trade him.
Well, you never know. And they might for Brandon Aiyuk. They might.
I mean, I just don't see.
That would be a good, value for value kind of a trade.
I think ultimately the Niners need to do what's best for them. And what's best for them is Brandon Aiyuk plays for the 49ers next year. So I seriously do think
that on their price,
that hard ball, they should get to that hard ball. Here's 26 wasn't enough. Here's 28, final offer. You can play at 28 or you can play at 14. What do you want?
Yeah, but see, here's the thing though. That kind of bull in the china shop thing sounds good on a live stream, but it doesn't play. It doesn't play because what happens is then you've got one of the leaders in your room, one of the guys who is really, blocks downfield and is a culture player for you, is sitting there in the corner of the locker room stewing at an island unto himself.
Well, so if
and then there's other guys in the room who sit there and go, you know what? I mean, George Kittle came out last year at his locker and said that the Niners should need to pay Brandon Aiyuk $25 million. So it's not like you can just say, hey, all other players, shut up. Don't talk about this. They're going to. And you can't say other players don't evaluate who won here, who lost, or who got over on each other.
I've never heard a player once say, yeah, that guy doesn't deserve that money. So it's a throwaway line from Kittle. I don't think it affects the mood of the locker room. And the team understands how this team is built. And I don't think you'd have to explain to anyone in that locker room why Brandon Aiyuk asking for $32 million right now, with Brock about to get what he's about to get, is sitting well. Like I just don't think that the 49ers can worry about feelings. They need to worry about production. And this guy is either going to come and be a pro and produce for them. And if they think anything other than that, then they should have traded him months ago. But they obviously really like the guy. And I think the guy really likes the team as well. I just think you got a bunch of assholes negotiating on social media right now, and this deal somehow gets done. I really do. I think this would be a much ado about nothing when it's all said and done, and all the breathless hours we've wasted discussing this, and the deal gets done. I don't see how they're better without Brandon Aiyuk. I don't see how you're maximizing this window without your number one target, who does everything that Kyle wants out of his wide receivers. I think it gets done. I really
Are the
do.
Chiefs better without Tyreek Hill? They won 2 Super Bowls without him.
It's not apples to apples.
It kind of is.
No, it's not, because the other apples are being measured around the formula for apple juice, which is, here's the thing. If you got Patrick Mahomes, cut everyone. You can fire Andy fucking Reid. I don't even care. You got Patrick Mahomes. He's a little bit of a difference maker more than anyone who has maybe played for the 49ers in their franchise's history, but for the sacred names of Joe, Steve, and Jerry, right? I mean, like Brandon Aiyuk and Brock Purdy do not exist in the same universe in which Patrick Mahomes exists in. So, I mean, like, I don't want to just, well, they cut their thing and that means the Niners can do it. I don't think it's that. The Niners are...
Titans got rid of A.J. Brown. I mean, there's other examples where, teams have moved on from their receivers.
The Titans aren't trying to win
Green Bay moved on from Devontae Adams and went in the draft and found a bunch of young wide receivers.
Green Bay was not in its Super Bowl window. They were not in the midst of appearing in NFC title games and going to the big game. And
I don't know about that. They had Aaron Rodgers at quarterback at the time.
Well, but they were moving on. Like they knew that they were breaking that up to usher in the future that couldn't come about if we just ran it back with Aaron and Devontae yet again. So, I mean, I don't care what any other team is doing. Brandon Aiyuk is what's best for the 49ers to win the Super Bowl this year. That's what I believe. By the way, Andrew Brandt was talking about the Trevor Lawrence deal and how it relates to the market and what Trevor just got. I would say that, that Brandon Aiyuk and Trevor Lawrence sort of exist in a same universe where both are really good. Both are definitely respected, but neither is considered the best at his position. But talking about Trevor Lawrence, Andrew Brandt said, we're at the point in contract negotiations for productive quarterbacks where it's no longer about how good they are compared to other quarterbacks. It's all about marketplace and timing. Teams must either meet the market or not negotiate. This is now the case with Tua, Love, and Prescott. And obviously he's talking about quarterbacks there, but you can apply the exact same theory to Brandon Aiyuk. Brandon Aiyuk probably isn't worth $30 million a year as a wide receiver, but that's what the market is bearing right now, and life is timing, and the timing for him to hit the marketplace is, as significant as his stats and his production when you're considering what he's about to be paid. And again, the Niners knew that this was coming. The biggest miscalculation in all of this is that they got caught holding this bouquet of, flowers that they knew they did, either like put in the water or put in a vase or watch die. And it feels like they got caught playing a waiting game where the waiting game further emboldened Team Aiyuk to dig in to their position more than the Niners are digging into theirs. Like the waiting game benefited Aiyuk, not the Niners. And the Niners decided to play a game that benefits the other player. And the only reason why they would do that is if they realized that they were going to go to the full-on DEFCON 1. Well, we don't need to do this anyways. We do not need to negotiate with you anyways right now. We have an agreement signed on paper for a 5th-year option for $14 million right now. And if you really want to be dickish about it, we can franchise tag you the year after that. So you're demanding a contract right now is, something we understand that you're demanding, but we don't have to give in to this demand.
Well, I know you don't have to, but I mean, it's the same thing. It's like, you got to live with this person. So, you got your wife a present for her birthday and she's like, hey, I wanted a different present and a card. And you say, hey, you know what? I got you your present and your present is your present. You can go hardball, but you may be sleeping on the couch. You may be staring at a woman who hates your guts for the next year. There may be may make life uncomfortable inside the Bruce house, but you said you were getting her that gift. You got her that gift. Yeah. Now she says she wants a card and another gift. Oh, you know what? You're not getting that card. You're not getting, you can win the battle, but lose the war. And they can win the battle and lose the war. Yeah. They can win this battle. You're right. They got all the leverage. They can say, hey, sit there and shut the fuck up. 14.2 million, Jack. That's what you're playing on. We'll see you in training camp, or we won't. There's your dollar figure. But he's one of the best players on your team, and he carries weight inside your locker room, and he can make things uncomfortable for you. All I would say is I hope the Niners had a plan when they entered into this. I hope they're not just kind of free balling it and letting it go where it can go, because once Ian Rappaport said in February that he wanted to wait till Jefferson got paid to sign, that should have told the Niners everything they needed to know. This guy's going to the mattresses and he wants the top dollar, and anything shy of that, anything short of that is going to make him unhappy. And then we just got to decide, do we want an unhappy wide receiver in our locker room, or do we want to pay him, or do we want to trade him? Those
How
are the
about this?
options.
Let's say Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers, it all falls apart. However, whatever falls apart equals, that's what happened. Is Parag Marate in trouble? Do you think anyone's going to turn around and be like, Parag, your time with the 49ers is now on borrowed time? I don't think it is. I think the 49ers have chosen.
There's more public pressure on Parag if he can't get this done because of how they handled it, because they could have been proactive and they weren't. They let the market play them.
Yeah.
And they're now here in the 11th hour having to react to a market that they knew was going to be here. And if they didn't know. No, I don't even I think they're too smart for that. I don't think they miscalculated it. It was too obvious. We all saw where it was. It was at 28, 29 million, and Jefferson was still to be paid. There were articles that were written 6 months ago that said Jefferson was going to get $35 million AAV. So I don't think they're surprised. I think they just, it's like if you pay the guy early, you're committed. If you wait until the end, you've got options. They've got options. They've got trade options. They've got signing options. They've got play on the 5th year options. I mean, you don't have to risk anything. There's no chance that he could step off a curb and blow out an Achilles. You haven't paid him yet. If he blows out an Achilles, it's on him. I mean, typically the way these deals get done is because we're talking about your body and getting hurt. Almost all of them get done, at least on the Niner front, right before they hit the field. They like to pay their guys right before they hit the field. So maybe this is much ado about nothing. We're 6 weeks away from training camp, and on the day before training camp, he's going to sign some $32 million deal, and everybody's going to skip down the road happily. Maybe, or maybe there really is, maybe they really are communicating, and maybe they really are at an impasse. And if that's the case, who knows? I mean, Washington has Terry McLaurin. They just drafted Luke McCaffrey. They have Jahan Dotson. They've got other receivers. They signed after the draft Marcus Rosemi, Jack Saint from Georgia, and supposedly he's looked good.
I guess the thing that drives me a little nuts.
Would you trade him to the Commanders for Luke McCaffrey and a first-round pick?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'd have to think about it a little bit more. I just know that whatever number the Niners are balking at today and just saying you can't do that. It'll be a normal number 3 years from now, 2-3 years from now. Your number one wide receiver on every single team's roster will be in that $30 million a year range. So the Niners are going.
Not every team's the Niners, right? Not every team has Kittle.
The Niners are going there with someone. The Niners are going there with someone, whether it be Debo on a re-up or Ricky Pearsall when he's ready to go. There will be a $30 million a year wide receiver on the 49ers within the next 4 or 5 seasons, for sure.
Not necessarily at all, because here's the thing. Every year in the draft, there's a brand new cheap supply of wide receivers. Pete says here, Larry had a good idea. Trade BA to the Chargers for Ladd McConkey and future picks.
Show me where Kyle Shanahan wants to bet on a rookie crop of receivers. He doesn't think it's that.
I don't think it's about want at this point. I think it's just about, create. You either have to get the value of Aiyuk, or you've got to realize some value for Aiyuk.
Or just no second-year deals.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're saying there must be a $35 million receiver with the Niners. I'm saying no, because if you don't want to pay a $35 million, I mean, one, it's not going to be, if it's not Aiyuk, it doesn't sound like it's going to be Debo. So the Niners may just have and who knows? I mean, looking at the market the way it is, it might be the best play to treat receivers the way you treat running backs. You draft them. It's like the running back in the NFL is like the modern day printer. It used to be, man, you'd pay a ton for it. Now it's like they're super cheap. They're plentiful. You ride them hard till they break and then you throw it out. You buy another one. And that's kind of what I see with where the wide receiver market's going. It's like some of these teams are like, hey, I got to pay my guy $30 million. Fuck that. I ain't paying my guy $30 million. I'll trade him. I'll take a pick and I'll go down the road.
I don't know. I'm looking at this way. I think I'm as tired of this topic as Tristan Russell is, who just said, you won't change topics. You just lost a 3-year subscriber. So that's the thing. Like, there's nothing left to say here. Sign the guy, fucking trade the guy. That's it. I mean, that's all we are. And we're not at the time where the Niners really choose to do that yet. So what are we talking about? What are we talking about? The Niners are better with Brandon Aiyuk. Bring him back. You want that guy to be around. He costs too much money? Well, we all knew what the sticker price was going to be approximately thereof months ago. So you should have probably done business around this months ago, unless we wait till the start of training camp to re-sign everyone is just going to come true again. In which case, if it is, why not have done that already and had him at the mini camps and all that stuff and the smooth off season that Kyle promised would be, a real difference maker this year. And again, the Niners are talking and acting out of both sides of their mouth. And at the end of the day, the whole team will probably be on the field for week 1 anyways. And what the fuck? It's crazy, man.
Well, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. I mean, I'll say this. People were like, why are you guys talking about this? Why are we talking about this? This is one of the best players on the team who just put out on TikTok that they don't want me. And we're assuming that they are the Niners. So, yeah, that's why we're talking about it. Because it's probably one of the biggest stories with one of the biggest sports teams in this market. That's why we're talking about it. And Tristan,
boy, we are.
I just blocked you anyway, bud. So you're gone anyway. So thanks for being here, and see you the fuck later.
Wow, you just went really hardball. You just told Tristan you plan on $14 million a year or you're out.
I said, Tristan, get the fuck out of my live stream. I don't need you. Goodbye. Bye, Tristan.
Bye-bye, Salinas.
Bye-bye, Salinas.
All right, here's your mini camp buzz around another wide receiver.
Hope you enjoyed your chat, Jack.
Nick Wagner writing that Ricky Pearsall has been exactly as advertised. The 49ers have used him as a multiple receiver in positions throughout the offense, as well as a punt returner, which is probably the best ticket to touching the ball early in his rookie year. The team wants Pearsall to be able to step in anywhere in the case of injury. He's also proved versatile, according to Kyle Shanahan. We're getting him a lot of reps in a lot of different routes. We're trying all the positions, and we've been really impressed with how he started off, says Kyle Shanahan. So, there you go. Maybe Ricky Pearsall is already here to solve all your Brandon Aiyuk wasn't going to play for you this year problems, and he'll be the first rookie wide receiver to be named Offensive Rookie of the Year for the 49ers since who? Did Jerry win that? Did he win the Offensive Rookie of the Year? No, he did not.
No. Jerry had a rough rookie year. He came alive late. I mean, Ricky Waters was great his first year, but it wasn't his first year because I think he got hurt. So I think he got drafted in he got drafted in 90 or something like that. I think his first year might have been 91. He was really good.
So as we talk about Brandon Aiyuk headaches, Ricky Pearsall can be exactly the aspirin that the 49ers are looking for in their medicine cabinet. I mean, he can.
Well, let's talk about Pearsall. This guy's like Wolfie. What did Tristan do? Game of Thrones power move, Larry. LOL. Tristan he talked some shit, and I just, I wasn't in the mood for it. So I said, you know what? You're gonna try to play 3 years, fan. Don't change topic. I did change topic. Now we're talking about how we booted Tristan's ass off of our live stream. See you, Tristan.
You do not unsubscribe from the Krueger show and live to talk about it.
Like, go ahead, do what you want. But you know what? You're not running this show. Do what you want. But Tristan can find a new show. All I'll say about this 49er situation is, it's Aiyuk is a really good player for sure. And they, but I don't, it's football. Outside of like your starting quarterback or a guy on your defensive front seven that commands a double team, I don't think you bow to the players. I just don't. There's only so much cap room. There's
Well,
only
then-
so many.
then
The
14
Niners are
million there it is.
uniquely
Then
the
14
Niners are
million there it
uniquely
is.
screwed because they've got Trent and Kittle and CMC and Ayuk and Debo, and they're going to pay Purdy $50 million, and they got Mooney Ward, and they got Fred Warner. You know what I mean? They have an abundance of riches. So that's why it's a situation that's tough to handle. But I will say this on Pearsall. You know, Pearsall looks really, really good. He's not Aiyuk. I can tell you that right away. I mean, he's not Brandon Aiyuk. So I mean, if you said to me, okay, this Aiyuk thing's kind of strange, Krug, what's your read on it? I would say, well, always forget what people say, because the say things cheap and people say things for effect. So even though I just played you Aiyuk and what he was saying, take it worth a grain of salt, because it's talk's cheap. Watch what people do. Watch what people do.
Like
Not what
draft
they
two
say.
receivers. Draft
Like,
two receivers
exactly.
in
Like,
the
if
year
you said
where
to me,
you think Brandon Aiyuk might be gone.
what's the oddest thing about the Niner offseason so far? I would say the oddest thing is that they got to the first round 5 days after Lynch looked us all in the eye and said, "Yep, we're thinking about the line. It all starts on the line." And yet their pick came up at 31. Did they go line? No. They went wide receiver. And went for a wide receiver that kind of surprised some people too. But they went wide receiver. I think that surprised a lot of people. Well, there you go. I mean, they in some ways could have been setting themselves up for just a hardcore knockdown, drag out battle royale. I mean, do you draft Ricky Pearsall if you have Debo, have JJ, have all these other receivers? It's a super loaded draft, and you're planning on Aiyuk coming back.
Right, and you want
cover.
Juwan Jennings to come back, so you give him a second rounder. With the tender that they put on him, which means he's not going anywhere. So it's a little weird.
It was the Pearsall draft pick was the move that had to be explained, right? And the explanation, at least from afar, is that they're covering themselves in case the whole thing blows up with Aiyuk. And maybe your guess is right. Maybe, maybe they decided to go with Pearsall because they had indications that they were going to go to the absolute mattresses to win this negotiation with Aiyuk, that it may get ugly and that they may need to move on from Aiyuk. I don't want to see Aiyuk gone, because I like Aiyuk and I think he's a really good player, but I don't think it's a good situation to have him sitting there and pissed in the corner of the room. I don't know.
Yeah.
In some cases I'm like, what do the players care? But I think as time goes on, especially with your star players, I don't know, man. It's kind of a small room.
It is. No one wants a moper. No one wants someone who's upset. No one wants, someone who they think is not being rewarded for the value that they bring to the team. All these guys are pulling for each other, but Brandon Aiyuk on a rookie deal has, the right of the team to pick up that fifth-year option. Being a first rounder is the right of that team. And this is Brandon Aiyuk demanding that a contract get done before the 49ers timeline says we need to redo this contract, is something that needs to be, eventually seen as, well, you're asking for a luxury item. And we're just not giving luxury items to you at this particular time with all this other stuff happening. And I mean, that's the thing. It's hardball has to be played here, Larry. Like the reluctance to play hardball, the not wanting to play hardball, like that ship has sailed. That ship has sailed. If everyone is hunkering into their positions and no one's going to budge an inch, then you are in the world of hardball negotiation. And we'll see how the Niners actually play it. Again, we're moving on. We're still talking about this. Do you want to lose Tristan again, Larry? Do you want to lose another subscriber? Good God. Here, I got one other thing for you before we get into the
Sophia says they can't pay BA and then Purdy. Is this all about Brock Purdy? Is this all about Brock Purdy's contract being $55 million? Because that sounds like where that's going to be.
I think you're going to 60 on Brock. I really do. I think you're going to 60. A great year, another great year out of Brock this year means he's at 60. Let's be honest.
I mean, all of this is getting out of hand. The one thing about paying Brock 60, and you guys all know I love Brock and think he's a real talented guy, but man, I mean, where does this just keep this just it's getting it? It's hard to have a $60 million. I mean, quarterbacks are making 40 not that long ago.
Right.
Jimmy was the highest paid quarterback when he signed.
Tanner Mordecai, get ready. You're going to have to cut Brock. Tanner Mordecai, you're just going to need a rookie deal quarterback if they're all going at 60 now. Or look, the NFL is going to have
Tanner Mordecai becomes the guy.
The NFL is going to absolutely have to address this with the next bump to the cap. It went up $35 million this year, which I think we were just talking with Chase Senior on Friday. The $35 million cap increase year over year is the biggest in football history. They're going to need to follow that up with the second biggest cap increase in football history, especially if they're going to go to an 18th game. The NFL is going to have to relook at the math around team and roster construction and make it fit modern price points. They're going to have to. They're going to have to.
And here is the problem. The problem is that certain positions, there's I don't know that you can pay them. I mean, it's not a Niners situation that most of the players of note who have been traded in the NFL over the last 3 to 5 years have been receivers. That's not a Niners situation. So other GMs who know the league and know the talent and know the value have looked at receivers and come to the realization that, yeah, that guy's getting paid, but he ain't getting paid here. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I would love it if they would just sign him and then that we could all get down the road. But the bottom line is the assumption I think a lot of us have is it'll get done. And if it does get done, there'll be a lot of people who will be pointing at guys like you and I and others and be like, oh, these people were losing their mind, blah, blah, and see, it got done. But what if it doesn't get done? What if it doesn't get done? Then maybe a lot of this dialogue is not just for naught, that maybe it was actually, it's understandable because it seems like there's at least a possibility that it doesn't get done.
Look at it this way. It gives us something to talk about on June 17th. So we do thank everyone involved for that. The agents, the Instagram, the acrimony. It's all working for us. Other side of the ball here, Larry. The 49ers are holding.
You want to change the topic?
We're changing the topic. If you say Brandon Aiyuk one more time, I swear to God, I'm unsubscribing. I'm not. Okay.
I will unsubscribe. Let me help you with that.
Block. Thank you, Tristan.
Circle meets the square. We lost somebody. But we picked up Michael Atlantis. He's become a YouTube member.
I mean, is it just on your channel? Can you make it happen over here on this channel too? We're not asking you to double dip, but we're absolutely asking you to double dip here today, Michael. But no, thank you. Any member, any subscription, any like to either one of our channels is a win for the good guys. And thank you so very, very much. 49ers are holding out hope for Drake Jackson. That is the new topic. In an interview with Matt Barrows of The Athletic, defensive line coach Chris Kasurik sounded in an upbeat tone over Jackson's skill set, even though he's been away from the field this offseason. AZ Sports is reporting, Larry, that Jackson, who had surgery on his knee that prompted the 49ers to place him on the IR, and he hasn't, taken a snap in OTAs or mandatory minicamp, he continues to recover. You would look at the fact that this team went out and they're, made a splashy signing of Leonard Floyd and then came back with Yetur Gross-Matos. There's a lot of downward arrows on Drake Jackson's status on this team. They signed his replacement twice over, and he's yet to hit the field practicing. But Chris Kasurik apparently remains very optimistic, saying that, even with there's a lack of practice time and he's not out there participating right now. They still are holding out hopes for him to take regular snaps in 2024. Drake Jackson is a guy who, has got the body to figure it out. Can he figure it out? This is a monster year for him. There's a very good chance that he will get a lot of snaps. There's also another good chance he's not even on the roster week 1. What do you think happens to Drake Jackson?
Oh, dude. It's funny too. It's like, I don't want to disagree with the premise, but I was standing right there and there was not optimism. That I don't know how that read, but it was not optimistic. When the first question was asked about Drake Jackson, Kaceric's like, well, I can't talk about him. He's rehabbing and, he's got the knee injury. It's like, so he basically, it sounds like Drake is working hard. They like him as a guy, but he started the whole dialogue about Drake with like, I can't talk about him at all because he's rehabbing a knee. So I don't know how much time he's had on the field, if any. That's my sense of it. When I was standing there, I was standing right there with Kaceric and Matt when Kaceric talked about Drake. Now, he said some good things about Drake. Drake's working hard and he's been here and this and that. But as far as, he needs to get a whole lot stronger. And he was deficiently strong. He had strength deficiencies as a rookie, only slightly better in year 2. And then he had the big week 1 against the Steelers where he kind of fell into 3 sacks and then it all went away for him. And I love the kid. I think he's a great guy. He's one of my favorite guys to talk to on the team. He's a terrific kid. But he just needs to get stronger. And he needs to develop some pass rush moves.
He was a second rounder because of the Trey Lance deal, but he was the first pick of their 2022 draft.
Yeah. And he has flashed. He's flashed. I think he looked good as an interior rusher inside their NASCAR package 2 years ago, kind of the Arden Key role, because he does play with pretty good strength at the point. But as far as, strength and moves, and technique, it's just, there's a lot of work to be done there. So, yes, is this a huge summer for Drake Jackson? Yes. And, I'm worried about this one because the Niners need Robert Beal and Drake Jackson to both fire and play ball this year. And in the past, there was kind of like gravy if those guys performed. They now need those guys to perform, and it's not gravy. And if those guys don't perform, it's going to be a bad thing. Look at the 49er D line. They've got Bosa and Leonard Floyd. And Yatir Gross-Matos probably plays right defensive end for Leonard Floyd on first and second down. So your 3 defensive ends are Bosa, Floyd, and Yatir Gross-Matos. Who's the 4th defensive end and the 5th defensive end? Typically, you're going to go with, roughly 10 D linemen, 5 tackles, 5 ends. So you got Bosa, Floyd, Yatir Gross-Matos. Then you've got those 3 are locks. Then it's Drake Jackson, Robert Beal, and then it just falls off the floor. Then it's Austin Bryant. So, you could make an argument that 49ers
Austin Bryant looks fantastic in pass.
Yeah, Austin Bryant looked good. Yeah. And then there's Alex Barrett and there's the kid from Maryland. But they need Drake Jackson and Robert Beal to play like what they are. Beal's an athletic 6'4". He put on about 12 pounds. So he's about 260. Never been heavier, but he didn't play consistently at Georgia and got better as the year went on last year, but didn't look like much in camp, was hurt a lot. Drake was, had a great first week and then just disappeared, IR'd by season-ending IR'd by week 6.
Yeah.
They now need those 2 guys to play, and if those 2 guys don't play, the Niners are going to have to go on to the waiver market and find Taco Charlton or find whoever else is out there. So Drake Jackson and Robert Beal Jr. and them playing well is absolutely near the top of the list. Most important things that have to happen this summer.
Well, and at the risk of going back to any Brandon Aiyuk conversation, maybe an eventual trade of Aiyuk, you're asking for a team's, third best D end.
Nick Herbig. That's what I was saying. If you could get, okay, so take that deal and cut it way down. let's say they're offering you Darnell Washington and a 2025 pick. If you could get Darnell Washington and Nick Herbig and a 2025 pick, I'm much more interested because Herbig could be that additional edge piece and a little insurance against Drake and Beal maybe not finding form. So it's a big summer for Drake. I mean, it really is.
It really is. He's a guy that I think everyone's rooting for him. Again, flashes is all we've gotten. It's consistency that has to start showing up on film, not just a flash 1 week and then we don't talk about you for 3 weeks in a row. And that's what Drake needs to get better at. Larry, final NFL bit of news for you here concerning just another franchise being held hostage by some bad ownership. I remember when David Tepper was brought in as the billionaire savior of the Carolina Panthers, it was supposed to change everything around. It really hasn't. As a matter of fact, the relationship with the city and the team are getting worse and worse and worse. Carolina might threaten to relocate, according to SB Nation. Charlotte City Council is going to hear statements from the public today about whether or not taxpayers would give a $650 million gift to David Tepper to help renovate Bank of America Stadium, a stadium that's not even 30 years old. It's a $1.3 billion proposal to upgrade the home of the Panthers. Again, this guy is one of the richest owners in all of North American sports, but he's still coming to, ask taxpayers for more. The latest back and forth in North Carolina with residents versus David Tepper, it seems like since he's come into power, he's become one of the most disliked men in professional sports, certainly in Carolina. And it includes, he had a plan to move the Panthers headquarters, and he backed out mid-construction of a brand new facility. So they literally had shovels in the dirt before he decided, no, I'm not paying for this anymore. And so you've got a half-built construction project just sitting in some field somewhere. He's moved the training camp from Spartanburg to a place where he can just bring it and charge money for fans to come in. So what used to be very fan-friendly and welcoming now no longer is. He removed the natural grass from Bank of America Stadium and replaced it with field turf. Players didn't like that. Fans don't like that. And he is talking to Kannapolis, apparently, about maybe building a stadium there. It's another neighboring community, Kannapolis, if Charlotte doesn't play ball. So David Tepper, come on down for the next round of which billionaire asshole is going to ruin a team's relationship with its existing city. Come on down. It's your turn to play, David.
And they're, of course, 1 year removed from taking, a tiny little quarterback over CJ Stroud. And we'll see. I expect Bryce Young to be quite a bit better this year than he was last year, but he was not very good last year.
It's a rough year.
Yeah, and the Panthers,
bad team, rough year. Bad team, rough year. So it can't all be on him. But Carolina Panthers are. How happy do you think Christian McCaffrey is to be out of there, Larry?
Oh, I mean, they're 2-15. I mean, they just took the wrong quarterback. Yeah, I mean, they're not in a good way right now. They're in a division that's seemingly wide open, right? Tampa, the Saints, the Falcons, and them. And it's like they should be able to compete in the division. It's not like they're sentenced to, second tier status forever. But man, rough year last year. I mean, rough year. They went 0-9 on the road. They went 1-5 in the division. They went 1-11 inside the conference. I mean, they were minus 180 point differential. I mean, only the Commanders were worse, I believe, than what Carolina was. So Carolina had a nightmare year. Fired the coach. It was hilarious too because I was purging my DVR right before the draft, right? And I saw that I had all this 2023 draft stuff on there. And so I just hit one of the buttons one day, Damon, and was like, oh, let me just see what exactly this was. And it was ESPN's coverage of day one of the 2023 NFL draft. And it starts with a Louis Riddick soliloquy. And it's funny. People always remember when people are right. We typically don't remember when people are wrong. Louis Riddick goes on literally a 2-minute soliloquy about how the Carolina Panthers are an organization that is uniquely positioned to develop Bryce Young. Oh, they've got the right head coach. They've got the right quarterback coach. They've got the right offensive coordinator. You know, he's not just going to a Carolina team. He's going to a perfect situation.
With the Frank Reich era?
Here we are. Situation? Yeah, here we are now. Since that point, they have a new GM, Dan Morgan. They got a new head coach, Dave Canales. They got a new offensive coordinator. They got a new quarterback coach. I mean, Louis Riddick could not have been more wrong about Carolina.
Yeah,
he celebrated that pick and had this obviously this speech that he had prepared. Probably patting several of his buddies on the back who must have been there with Carolina. And here we are a year later. They fired the coach. They fired the GM. They fired the quarterback coach. They fired the OC. They changed, the team didn't win a game inside the division. I mean, I
guess the position wasn't that unique after all.
Maybe it wasn't the perfect landing spot for Bryce Young after all, right, Lewis?
Oh man, I do like Louis Riddick though. He's pretty good. Look, these guys have to overextend themselves at the top of the draft, making declarative statements that are sometimes get held against them. Other times they go scotch-free. It's just it's ridiculous. Again, the amount of attention that we put into the draft based on the fact no one knows nothing. I mean, it's been proven. Part of the reason why Brock Purdy is disliked is because he told everybody that obsesses over the draft, actually, none of you, NFL teams included, really know shit. If anyone could,
that might be a little too simplistic, but yeah, it's like at the end of the day, it's a major dice roll, which is kind of, when you really think about it, teams draft quarterbacks when they need them, but they don't. But if you can find a great quarterback when you don't need one, now you've got two. Now you've got not only a tradable asset, you've got a tradable asset that you have no need for.
That's
so in a lot of ways, drafting a quarterback every year. I've heard people suggest that. I think Walsh might have thrown that out as a smart play. I think that's really, really very, very accurate. If you the Niners have Brock Purdy, but you know what? It might make sense to draft a quarterback that you like, not in the first round every year, of course, but in day 3, it might be smart to go draft a quarterback that you think's pretty good and show up in camp and find out if he's pretty good. Because if he plays well in the preseason, we're talking about 2-3 preseason games, the guy plays well, and suddenly it's like there might be 5 or 6 GMs knocking at your door. I guarantee you, if there's a young quarterback around the league that is not slated to start, that has a great preseason, Tom Telesco, the new GM of the Raiders, who's now armed with, Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew and Carter Bradley, will probably call that team saying, hey, you want to trade quarterback X? Well, you can trade him here. So it doesn't take a ton of exposure in the preseason to make people go, hey, that guy looks good.
Was it Andrew Brandt who's, famously said the worst time to draft a quarterback is when you're looking for one?
Yeah.
The best time to have a quarterback and the next guy up is when you're not looking for one. That becomes a luxury item. And yeah, like every single quarterback who's halfway decent is a gem in this league. Now, whether it be some flawless diamond or some flawed emerald or ruby, it's still a valuable gem. And you've got every single GM looking to collect as many gems as they can. So yeah, you have an incredibly valuable asset that either you find value in as a backup or can flip for, future trade purposes. It's
Green Bay, take Green Bay. They have Jordan Love. He's 24, 25. He was their first round pick in 2020. They just took Michael Pratt out of Tulane in the 7th round. I have no idea why Michael Pratt fell to the 7th round, but from what I've heard coming out of Green Bay's OTAs, Pratt's looked really, really good. And that's not surprising because he was pretty good at Tulane. So they may have gotten, even though they have Jordan Love and they used a first round pick on 2020 on him, and he's their guy, and they got Sean Clifford backing up. If Michael Pratt plays really, really well in the preseason, theoretically, if the Packers wanted to, they could probably flip him for something really good. So it's probably really smart to draft him in the 7th round.
The risk of opening Pandora's box here. Someone who is known as Trey Lance Monday says it's time to bring Trey Lance home. No.
Trey Lance still in Dallas.
Apparently Trey Lance is looking pretty good in Dallas too. So good for him.
Is he? Good for him. I'm on record as saying that I believe Trey is going to figure it out, because I know it's playing quarterback's complicated. It's not easy and it takes time, but it ain't rocket science. It's not like, oh my God, there's no chance he'll ever learn how to do this. No, just means that he's, he had a kind of a unique college experience. He had the pandemic. He had all kinds of interruptions. He's playing on the FCS level. Then he's sitting and guys are hurt and he's hurt and blah, blah, blah.
Well, look, the one thing that I know he needs.
I think he's going to fire. I think he's going to come back.
The one thing he needs is the one thing that he's not going to get in Dallas either. And that's reps and an opportunity to play. So I think he's
but eventually, I think, come on. I know you're right. Trey Lance is the poster child for why the NFL needs a minor league system.
I'll agree
because
with you.
He's
there.
not going to be the last guy with talent who hasn't been able to make it because of no reps. So but he's going to eventually get the reps. I don't know if it's going to be in Dallas. I don't know if it'll be this year, but my guess is that before Trey gives it up, he will have some ascension to something significantly higher than where he is now. That would be my prediction. If I was just saying, make a prediction on Trey, I think that Trey's eventually going to get it. Now, it may take another year, it may take 2 years, but too big, too strong, football's too important, too athletic, too smart. He's too good of a prospect to just outright fail, never to be heard from. I just think, I don't know. I'm a believer. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. It hasn't happened for him yet, obviously, but I still consider myself in the camp of, I think the guy has a decent NFL career before it's all said and done. I mean, Alex Smith, you got to remember this. Alex Smith was horrible. He was still athletic. He was still smart as hell, but he was horrible. Year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It wasn't until Alex's 8th year that he got with Harbaugh and became the Alex Smith that won a playoff game against the Saints and then graduated to the Chiefs and became a very good quarterback. So it can happen. It's not like it's unheard of. It's not like if you bomb in the first couple of years, there's no chance. He's got a chance, but it's more like an Alex Smith type trajectory.
The big problem for Trey Lance, and this is especially with Dak and his contract about to be renegotiated. He just needs to be in a place where he's going to get opportunity, and he's going to have to be, I believe, on a third franchise to even think about a good opportunity. And you're already starting to, you got diminishing returns on the odds of you making it when you're in a third opportunity that just may not be another good opportunity. It's just, he continues to be surrounded by circumstances that don't do very well by him. And that's part of it. Did you see that over the weekend? Charles Barkley basically said, I got another year on TV and then I think I'm done with it.
I saw that. I like the way he did it too. He's like, just came out and he's like, I'm not doing any other interviews. I'm just doing this.
Charles, I'm doing the media tour. Don't want to do it no more. And look, no, I don't blame him. Did you see there was some,
why is this tied to TNT losing possibly the NBA, or is he want to retire whether they lose it or not?
Win or lose, he's done. Whether they retain the rights, he's got one more year. I think this is the year where he got really sick of it all. And God, there was just a video of some, just douchebag TikTok content creator who is literally, Charles Barkley's walking past him to go into the arena. And he's like, you suck, Charles, trying to get a reaction. You suck, Charles. You never won a ring. You never won anything. What a loser you are. Like some just totally dickless fucking kid was just harassing Charles Barkley, saying that he sucked. And Charles, to his credit, just kept his head down and kept on walking. But I bet you it sat with him and he was just like, what? Just fuck this world, this unappreciative.
I've entertained the masses forever, and they don't appreciate me.
Exactly. So I think
I love Charles Barkley. You know what made Charles Barkley? Getting drafted by the 76ers, because he got an early glimpse into the most extreme media coverage that you typically get as a pro athlete in America, and that's the Philadelphia market. And he just decided back then, I can say this and they get mad. I can say that and they get mad. They're going to get mad no matter what I say. Right. So guess what? I'm just going to say whatever the hell I want. I think being in Philly made him, it was the perfect spot for him to go so he could realize that, you know what? Speak your truth and speak it, with conviction, and let the chips fall where they may. Now, it certainly helped develop callus, right? I mean, if you were in Philadelphia, you have to have a callus in order to survive. And so there's a part of that. Plus, look, he's wired to be a really funny, very approachable, highly competitive asshole. It's who he is. So he gets to Philadelphia and he doesn't shy away from any awkward confrontation. Like, he embraces it. And it helped him build the callus that makes him. Oh, and there's also this. He is one of the single greatest basketball players of all time. I mean, he truly is. He was. I remember him in his heyday. I mean, I remember him taking on Sam Bowie and Mel Turpin when Auburn played Kentucky. And, here he is 6'5". Right. Turpin was like 6'11", and Bowie was like 7'1", and he was dunking right over them in the lane. And Charles was just a menace. But yeah, the old saying, you can please some of the people some of the time. You can't please all of the people all of the time. And so he learned that lesson early and was just like, you know what? You can't please all the people all the time. So why even try?
And I remember his uber aggressive, I'm not a role model Nike campaign. He was
didn't he throw a little person through a window at a bar or something like that, through a mirror at a bar?
I don't know if it was a little person or not.
I thought it was.
Somebody did go out a window, and Charles had a legal issue on his hands over that. So, he was a spicy guy, and it all
smart, really smart.
Yeah. Crazy.
He invested in banks. I mean, think about, if you want a surefire investment, invest in a bank. That's a surefire investment right there.
Unless your bank goes under, which is happening an awful lot too. But yes, sure. Yes. When in doubt, it's
generally it's a pretty damn good investment.
Better than buying a fleet of cars, which depreciate in value the minute you drive it off the lot. That's for sure.
It's better than a NASCAR team as well.
Basketball season ends as soon as the Celtics win another game. They have been far and away the best team in basketball. They will be NBA champions. The only thing we, will decide, will it be a gentleman's sweep? Can Dallas actually get this back to Dallas for a game 6 and then maybe force a game 7? Again, no team has ever come back from a 3-0 hole in the NBA playoffs, in the NBA finals. So we know that is, next to impossible. But game 5 is tonight. And let me just tell you, another huge game out of Luka. Even in a losing effort, Larry, in the year that Jerry West died, we might have an MVP be named from the losing side of an NBA finals, because there is a collective effort that has put Boston in its position to end this sucker tonight in game 5. But outside of a few really good Jaylen Brown moments and a couple of Derek White moments, and White's not about to be MVP, and I don't think Brown's going to get it either, and it's definitely not going to be Tatum. Who is the MVP for the Celtics? I don't think they got one. It might be Luka in a loss if he has another ridiculous 30, 12, and 7 in a losing effort.
I'd give it to Jaylen Brown. I thought that ridiculous dunk down the middle, I think he's in a lot of ways been the guy. But I hear what you're saying. Yeah, Luka seems like he's out of shape. It's weird watching them. I will say this though. Man, if you're Boston, I realize you wanted to win it on your home floor and you brought no intensity into game 4, but be very, very careful how you go forward, because, here's the bottom line on this thing. Yeah, nobody expects, like Perkins was like laughing when he was asked, like, can Dallas pull the upset? He's like, no, Dallas can get their doors blown off in game 5. But here's the one thing about this that makes it kind of interesting. It's not if Dallas can win game 5. It's, can Dallas win a game and then Boston lose a player to an injury? Because that's you want to talk about what's going to make this series really interesting, is if Dallas somehow edges out a victory tonight and Boston loses. I mean, they already don't have Porzingis, but
well,
maybe he'll go tonight.
Back. That's the thing. Porzingis might be back in the mix.
Let's say Porzingis came back tonight and got hurt, or Boston lost a player or two to injury tonight randomly. Well, guess what? Your 3-0 suddenly could go right down the drain. So it's like, when you get up 3-0, you better, sweep the leg. You better go for it, because all it takes, I mean, Warriors saw it with Toronto. You get the wrong injury at the wrong time in the wrong series, and you can go down to a team that's not as good as you.
Yeah, I mean, if 2 of your starting 5 go down to catastrophic injury in a series, it's going to greatly affect the outcome of that series, you would think. But look, Boston's got a lot of house money to play with here. Kyrie, absolutely puckers up when he sees those Celtics jerseys when he goes into Boston. He's got to get out of his own head. If Kyrie and Luka all of a sudden have a great game tonight, then yeah, we will have a game 6 in Dallas, and the NBA finals have officially become interesting in that moment. But it's all about tonight.
It's all about this game.
Yeah, it's probably over tonight.
Because if Dallas gets this game, now it's 3-2. Now you're going back to Dallas. It's very easy that you could envision Dallas winning game 6 at home.
Yep.
Now it's 3-3. If it gets to a game 7 situation after Boston was up 3-0, like if I'm Jason Kidd, I'm painting this picture to my guys and getting them sky high for tonight. Why? Because if we get tonight, we got them right where we want them. We're going to beat them in game 6 at our place. And then guess what's going to happen? We're going to roll back here for game 7, and all of the pressure will be on them, and none of the pressure will be on us. We'll roll in here in game 7, loosey-goosey. Nobody expected us to be there. All of the weight of the expectations falls squarely on their shoulders in game 7. If I'm Kidd, I convince them that tonight is their game 7. And just, Dallas gets tonight, and the league's going to be happy. They're going to make more money. ESPN's going to be happy. ABC's going to be happy. They're going to make more money. But it could really, if it gets to a game 7 with Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, 2 of the great finishers in the game today.
Sure, give it to me. Give it to me.
Oh my God, I would love to see this thing go 7.
Give it to me. Speaking of the weight of the world and not performing with the weight of the world on your shoulders, how about Rory McIlroy at the U.S. Open? I mean, it's not quite Greg Norman level collapse, but he bogeyed 2 of the final 3 holes at a U.S. Open when he was putting on a charge earlier in the round. Bryson DeChambeau, who went from guy that nobody really likes to everybody loves him all of a sudden, and he is scrambling out here like he's playing a Muni course, just hitting incredible shots. DeChambeau wins his 2nd U.S. Open, denying Rory a major for the first time in about a decade. And look, DeChambeau was very good. Rory, he left without taking any questions. Like, that was one of the...
That's a bitch move.
It is.
You just get in your car and drive away.
It is.
Where's your accountability? You're the one. You were going to sit there and wrap yourself in glory if you won, but if you lost, now you hit the parking lot and you're out the gate, out the door, and no questions. I hate that. But by the way,
I hate it too. But you know what? It's funny that nobody in the golf media is like crucifying him today, because everyone's like, oh, that is like self-immolation. Like the guy did just die in front of us. We probably don't need many more follow-up questions. You saw him in the in the scorer's room, just sitting there waiting to sign his scorecard. And then it's just, I blew the US Open.
Okay, but I mean, so what?
I know. No,
You still own your own jet. You're rich as hell. You play
Right.
golf for a living. You're in the prime of life. You win some, you lose some. The guy you lost to's damn good. By the way, DeChambeau called his chip shot out of the bunker on the 18th hole. He called that the best shot of his life. That was an incredible shot. So
did you see there's some Golf Channel reporter standing in the bunker late last night trying to reduplicate the shot to demonstrate how hard it is. And he basically, in his demonstration puts one almost over the green. Right when he's done with it, a golf cart pulls up. DeChambeau, carrying the U.S. Open trophy, gets off and starts talking to him for this impromptu live golf lesson that he gives the reporter, who then basically takes another swing at it and hits a better shot than Bryson DeChambeau did. And DeChambeau hands him the U.S. Open trophy. He said, "You just won the U.S. Open. Congrats." Like, it was this live, impromptu, actual cameras just happened to be rolling moment for Golf Channel. That's one of the coolest moments in golf coverage you'll ever see in your life. It's pretty cool. You can find it on Twitter. It was everywhere last night.
I'll check it out. DeChambeau, by the way, I mean, he had a 3-shot lead going into Sunday, so it wasn't like, McIlroy had some monster lead. He briefly lost that lead to McIlroy on the back 9 and then put it away at the end. But I mean, you look at DeChambeau, he carded a 1/71 on Sunday. You look at McIlroy and you say, well, he gagged. He posted a 1 under 69.
Yeah.
And he finishes as a runner-up in a major for the 4th time in his career.
Dude, he had bet. I don't have the exact stat in front of me, but he was literally at a 358 out of 358 putts inside of 3 feet on tour. And then he misses 2 putts inside of about 4 feet on 2 of the last 3 holes of the U.S. Open.
Second year in a row, by the way.
Yeah.
Second year in a row. Last year at the LA Country Club, he finished 1 shot back. He's the second player in the past 40 years to finish runner-up by 1 shot in the same major in consecutive years. Jim Furyk did it at the U.S. Open in 06 and 07. But that's got to be painful. I mean, now you lost the U.S. Open by 1 stroke in back-to-back years. I mean, you got 4 rounds where you could sit there and play the what-if game. What if I just did this there? What if I didn't blow that there? What if I, what if I just, if I didn't, there's probably some putt in the 4, there's probably some collection of 1 or 2 putts over the 4 days that he thought, you know what, if I just hit that 5-footer.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's a game that haunts you, man. A game that haunts you. And it is a bitch move to not sit there and talk to media. But the fact that the media evaluated the situation was like, yeah, I'd probably just go home at this point too. Like, no one's really mad at Rory. That's the mental torture that he's in right now. But that's it's a nice little thing to have afforded to you, because other players would be absolutely murdered for doing that. Finally, Giants at Wrigley. Giants at Wrigley today, 5:05 game against the Cubs. Jordan Hicks is going to start the series. Giants salvaged a game off the Halos with a season high of 13 runs. They had a 9-run inning, Larry, and Jorge Soler actually hit a home run with guys standing on base. So,
I mean, look at the Giants. They're losing 2 out of 3 at home to the lowly Angels.
Yeah. Well, Ohtani
went 3-3
on them.
Yeah, they would go 3-3 on the homestand, but I mean, it's good to see Soler get it rolling. I mean, he's a warm weather guy. When the weather warms up, he's going to warm up. He's also a really, really streaky guy, and he just, he's prone to these streaks. But don't crush Jorge Soler just yet, because he gets incredibly hot. He gets incredibly hot.
The real big news out of baseball this weekend is that the Dodgers have lost Mookie Betts to a fractured left hand, and Yamamoto goes on the 15-day injured list as well this weekend. And,
rotator cuff.
Yeah, and as bad as that is, the Dodgers still have so much more talent than everyone that they're going to be just fine.
Oh, I know. By the way, did you see Dave Roberts? I mean, think about this. You spent $300 million or more on Yamamoto. He's got rotator cuff issues, and he's going to be shut down for a while. And who knows? Maybe he'll need surgery. You have Mookie Betts, who's, arguably the best player in the game. You lose him to a broken hand, or what was it?
Broken left hand, hit by pitch.
Yeah, but it's not going to require surgery. But he is going to be out for, I got to think, at least a month.
By the way, and how many guys can you just be like, hey, can you also play shortstop for us?
I know.
He's like, yeah, sure, no problem.
It's amazing, really. I mean, if you really think about it, it's hardly ever happened. But then you think about their situation, and then you listen to Dave Roberts, and Roberts is like, hey, we're going to be just fine. I feel bad for, Mookie. I feel bad for, Yoshinobu. I feel bad for these guys, but we're going to be just fine. Yeah, we know you're going to be just fine. And that's what's so annoying about the Dodgers is he's right about that. It's like they are going to be just fine. And in some ways, they don't even really care. I mean, they're so deep. They don't care if these guys miss time in June. They don't care if Walker Buehler misses half the year or more. As long as he rolls around for the postseason, they're 44-29. They got an 8-game lead in the division.
We'll have Gavin
Padres
step on in. We'll ask Max Muncy to move up from the bottom third of our order, which is ridiculous that he hits in the bottom third of the order. We'll just move him up. Oh, by the way, our new leadoff hitter, we'll go with Shohei Ohtani. It's an embarrassment of riches.
They're just so loaded, so stacked, and they're like, they lose Mookie Betts, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna be fine. But I'm really sad about him. It's like the fact that the Dodgers, outside of the Yankees and the Orioles, the Dodgers, I think, I guess they're tied with the Guardians. Maybe the Guardians have a little bit better record. But there's like 5 teams in baseball playing like 600 ball. And
I don't know. Look at it this way. If you walked up on the street and said to anybody, which Dodger leads the team in RBI this morning, no one even would remember that Teoscar Hernandez is on the team and it's him. I mean, like your 7-hole hitter is leading the team in RBIs and would be, in the middle of the order, top of the order, any other team in baseball, but he's hitting 7th for the frickin' Dodgers, Teoscar Hernandez. So, cry no tears for them. Save your tears for the A's who have lost 9 in a row. So, blooms off that rose. And
I will say this for the Giants, though. I think the Giants have a major problem on their hands. Not only are they, they scored a bunch of runs yesterday, but for the most part, they're not scoring. But the real problem is that Doval is not a primetime closer. And you could see it in that Yankee series where they just worked him and beat him. And then his body language is just awful.
He's in a rough patch. He's in a rough patch. It's the first rough patch of his young career, though. So,
he's talented and everybody would want him. I'm not saying, but I mean, the Giants better really, will be interesting to see where it goes from here. Because
how about this? With all the problems, he can't become one of them.
Well, I'll say this: I hate pitching the closer. In a guy who lives under high pressure situations. Have you ever seen a closer who looks good when they're brought into a game where there's no pressure? They almost always don't look good.
Yeah.
It's like they thrive under the pressure, but if they're thrown into hey, just get a little work. We've been crappy the last couple of days. We haven't needed you. You got a 7-run lead. Just go out there and get 3 outs. It's easier said than done. He just looked like he could not find the zone yesterday. And then when you can't find the zone in Major League Baseball, umpires just become even that much more critical. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like if you can't throw a strike, you don't get any corner calls. So that's what happened to him. He's throwing hard and the ball's got all kinds of tail and movement. But as soon as he showed that he didn't have command, he stopped getting all the corner pitches. Right. And then it was just like Melvin had to get him out of there.
Wait him out. Just wait him out. Let's go to the starred chats. I see we got about 7 of them. Let's hit them real quick. And then I do have to run before I'm doing a quick show today, Larry, at 11 o'clock. And then we are up to Train Town in Sonoma with the boys. Train Town.
Well, I'll tell you, let me give you a little recommendation too. I've never been to Train Town, but you know what's a great spot? And your kids will love it, absolutely love it. In old Sacramento, if you ever go up there, there's a train museum that is phenomenal.
Okay.
I mean, like, You'll love it. And it's Sacramento in the summer, but it's fully AC.
So we're actually the reason. So we are having a show right now. We are going to have our 8:45 a.m. wake up on Wednesday, but I'm out on Friday because on Thursday we're going up to Tahoe. And, maybe we stop. Maybe we dip in on the way there or back. We'll
you will not be disappointed. The Train Museum in Sac, very, very cool. All right, we got this one from Kevin Wood. He says, after Debo and Bosa's negotiations, I'm unconcerned.
We wish we could meet you in that unconcerned area, but a little concerned is, I think, the official position of this show. Thank you, Kevin.
Well, since Debo and Bosa didn't necessarily have great years in the years they held out, maybe we should be a little concerned. Michael Alana says, is a trade now imminent for Brandon Aiyuk with his recent TikTok post? Did you happen to see him talking to Jaden Daniels live? We didn't know who it was, but people told us it was Jaden Daniels. Somebody I
don't know what to think of it. I don't know what to think of it. Generation candy ass on TikTok. I'm just happy that he's not trying to do a dance.
Would you do this trade
thing where like you point at phrases that are above you, like, we don't do this, but we do this, and then we don't do this, but we do that. Like, it's just so corny.
KZing Zai says, Larry, would you trade Aiyuk for Jonathan Allen in a second? I would. If I could get Jonathan Allen in a second round pick from the Commanders, I would do it. I'd get down the road. If I could add Luke McCaffrey to that mix, I would try to do that as well.
You should get fired if you're the manager, if you're the GM of the Commanders.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Ayuk's pretty damn good. I don't even know how good Luke McCaffrey really is. Robert Prado says California State Railroad Museum. Yeah, that's the name.
Oh, that's it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you'll love it, Damon. And the boys. I mean, especially your older boy, he will love the Train Museum.
Mark is saying hit Mary's Pizza Shack. That could absolutely be in place in Sonoma Square. That feels like they got that little alley where they sit some people outside. We don't want to bring the kids inside. They get too loud too quick.
Where is the Mary's Pizza Shack? What?
Sonoma Square.
Oh, it's in Sonoma.
Like right next to the Swiss Hotel over on that side of the square.
I was going to say, if you're going to Pizza and Sac, there's a Midtown place called Chicago Fire.
This is Sonoma.
Okay, we got this one from Michael Alanis. BA is replaceable piece on this offense. He doesn't carry this team like CMC does. They drafted his cheaper replacement in Pearsall.
And again, just be careful with all those declarative statements, because if finding back-to-back 1,000-yard receivers were an easy thing to do with the 49ers, it wouldn't have taken them in between. God, who was it before it was Brandon Aiyuk? I think the last guy to have back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons for the 49ers was
Bolden.
Anquan Bolden. Yeah. Playing with a broken palate, for goodness sakes.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. Daza says, what's the issue with BA? He apparently wants the Amon-Ra deal. So pay him or trade him. I don't get this standoff. I don't either. I really don't. I got to be honest. I don't get this. It's very clear. The ceiling's clear. The floor is clear. His ask is clear. Is it possible that they're all just fooling around and that the Niners don't want to pay him until the day before he shows up? If they did, they wouldn't be the first team to kind of take that stance. So the fact that it hasn't happened does make you wonder, why has it not happened? Brian J says, hey guys, love the show. Have you seen the new clip of Aiyuk on Bleacher Report? They said they don't want me back, so the plot thickens. Yeah, I mean,
here's the thing. I would like to hear the 49ers say what makes Brandon Aiyuk think that they said in a public domain they don't want him back, right? Or what privately got back to Aiyuk that he now believes they don't want me back.
Right. Exactly. I mean, what's his they don't want me back based on is, I guess, we need to know.
And by the way, would you care if on Monday, June 17th, the message was they don't want you back, but in 3 weeks from now, they put $30 million in front of you, you sign the deal, everyone goes home happy. Would you ever bitch about it again? The answer is no.
Yeah. Michael Lanez.
Thank you, Michael.
New member.
There you go.
Little clap for the new YouTube members. Michael Atlantis is dropping another 5 spot. He says Khalil Davis needs the boot too. Oh, you're talking about Khalil Davis. He's Jalen Hurd on defense. Yeah, I mean, this is it for Khalil.
Yeah.
Kalia, there's several guys here that are in the kind of make it or break it year for the 49ers, and Kalia Davis is on that list. And the fact that Evan Anderson has looked pretty good, the undrafted free agent that they signed from Florida Atlantic, that's not a good situation for Kalia Davis. The other guy, Shaquille Brown, who wore number 60 in minicamp, who they signed as a college undrafted free agent. I guess Tennessee technically had him last year. I think Brown and Anderson are going to give T.Y. McGill and Kalia Davis a major run for that fifth tackle spot. So the tackles are Hargrave, Malik Collins, Jordan Elliott, Kevin Givens. Those four, I think, are going to make the roster. They'll go with one more, and I think it comes down to Evan Anderson, Shaquille Brown, T.Y. McGill, and Kalia Davis. If I had to wager on it, I would take Brown or Anderson over Davis and McGill. So we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out this summer. We got another one here from Oli Kao. He says, latest Aiyuk post saying 49ers don't want him. Oh, I know. But yeah, it's safe to say, Damon, that the post is getting around. People are starting to see it, and they're noticing.
Yeah, by the way, if they didn't want him, why'd they pick up his fifth-year option?
Yeah. Well, and that's him saying they didn't want him. Who knows? Who knows? Do they want him? Do they not want him? It's all conjecture. And then we got this one. It's kind of interesting from King Mufasa. He says Pearsall will be way better than Aiyuk.
I don't know that.
I don't. Yeah.
I mean,
we don't know that.
He has yet to smell the NFL's regular season. He doesn't even know what it smells like. So let's relax.
Well, and also I've watched the guy. He can catch. He can run routes. He's got hands. He's got everything. But he hasn't been starched by C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Right.
And when he is, what kind of route running does he display after that point? To me, that will define Ricky Pearsall, because I know he can run routes. I know he can turn you into a pretzel and do all these great things with great footwork, incredible ball skills. What happens when he gets detonated on in the middle of the field at 188 pounds? Does he get alligator arms? Does he start to peak? Does he start to, be concerned?
Where's your sergeant? Blown up.
Yeah.
What does he look like after he gets blown up?
Somebody said C.J. Gardner-Johnson is a scrub.
Oh, that must be that must be Debo in the chat, right?
Yeah, I don't know if he's a scrub. He's a pretty damn good player. He can hit too, and he's back on the Eagles. So there you go. All right. Is that it? Is there anything else you want to hit here?
That's it, Larry. Thank you.
We're done talking Aiyuk trades.
Well, you got to be nicer, Larry. You got to be nicer. Because sometimes things take time. Two things can be equally true. Brandon could think that the Niners might not love them, but they still might have a love for Brandon Aiyuk somewhere in their heart and in their financial page, and it could all come together. They could ride off into the sunset in the Miata together when it's all said and done.
Tristan doesn't like the Aiyuk topic, but Taylor Barrett says Aiyuk trade to the Steelers for Calvin Austin III and Nick Herbig. I would say, Taylor, I want a pick involved. Give me a 3. Give me a day 2 pick, and I'll take Herbig and Austin and call it a deal.
Guy. You need a football guy.
I like Herbig. He's a football guy. Calvin Austin's a smallish receiver.
That would be a little on the low side, by the way. And I think I would need a little bit more there. Bobby says Damon just inhaled some serious helium.
Ralph, wherever you are, Godspeed, my friend. Godspeed. Larry, thank you very much. Always a pleasure. Like and subscribe, everyone, on your way out if you haven't already. And cheers to you. Go have a nice Monday. It's nice out there.
Get out there, enjoy the outside. Maybe meet up with me and Ralph. We'll go to Amici's.
We'll get a pie. We'll get a paisan. All my paisan friends. We'll get a pie. I want extra garlic, and I love those lemon pepper wings.